Hello guys, how are you doing? Welcome back to this amazing YouTube channel. My name is Lona and I'm a cloud support engineer, and I also do a number of Kubernetes stuff. So if you're new to this channel, welcome so much. And if you're a returning subscriber, I love you so much. Kindly continue supporting my channel. Kindly continue watching my videos, sharing, commenting, and liking on each and every video. So guys, if you haven't subscribed to this channel, kindly give me support, and I'll really appreciate. So in this video today, I want us to look at how to troubleshoot some of the things that we come across in our Kubernetes environment. So I was just doing random tests just to see different things that come about when we run containerized applications in our Kubernetes environment. And I thought about sharing how to check issues with pods, especially when you see that your pods are not in running state. The status that we expect our pods to be running in any Kubernetes environment is in running state, but sometimes you see some other state apart from running. You can see pending, you can see ImagePullBackOff, you can see CrashLoopBackOff, and things like that. So if I run kubectl get pods in my environment right now, you'd see that I have different status for my pods, and we can actually I want us to just look at what could be causing these issues in the Kubernetes environment. So kubectl get pods. Kubectl get pods. Yeah, so guys, you can see that I have some pods in running state, I have some pods in ImagePullBackOff, I have some in pending state, and I have 2 pods in CrashLoopBackOff. So I deliberately created different scenarios just for us to look at how to troubleshoot these different situations, so that if you're working with Kubernetes, if you're a Kubernetes administrator or you're getting started with Kubernetes, I hope this video will help you just in your troubleshooting during your troubleshooting seasons. Yeah, so for my first deployment that has running pods, this is the file for that. I'm just running a simple Nginx deployment. It doesn't have any issues. I have 4 replicas, and you can see all the replicas are working. So for someone who's new to Kubernetes, let me just show you how I was able to create this deployment. So I have this file. I'm creating all this in my VS Code platform. So I created this specific file. It's called nginx.yaml. And for me to create this deployment, you just have to run kubectl create-f and the name of the file. So for example, for this one, having this file, just have to run kubectl create-f nginx .yaml, and that will create your deployment. That's because my files are in this just here in this directory. So if I do ls, you can see all my files are here. If your file is somewhere else, you just have to pass the full path where your file is, but the command basically is kubectl create-f and then the name of the file or the path where the file is in. So that will create your deployment. If you want to delete, just use the same command, but instead of create, you use delete. So you say kubectl delete-f, name of the file, then it will delete your deployment. Let me actually show you just by deleting it. So you say kubectl delete -f nginx .yaml. So that should delete your deployment. What is the issue? Okay, L. Well, I think my keyboard is not very sensitive, that's why. So I've deleted that deployment. So if you get ports one more time, you'll see that those ports for that specific deployment will not be there. And you can see the ports that were in running state are no longer there. So you can easily just create it back by using kubectl create-f kubectl, sorry guys. Yeah, and my deployment is created. Check ports one more time, and you have your ports running. So guys, I'm using EKS. This is an EKS cluster. Kubernetes is running in AWS, but it doesn't matter if you're using vanilla Kubernetes. The commands are the same. kubectl used in EKS cluster and the kubectl used in vanilla Kubernetes cluster is the same, so it doesn't really matter. So troubleshooting will be the same whether you're running EKS or whether you're running vanilla Kubernetes. Troubleshooting steps will be the same. So if you don't have EKS in AWS cluster, it's still okay that you try the same steps in your Kubernetes environment. So for this specific deployment, I've said that it doesn't have any issues, and this is what we expect normally for our containerized applications, to be having this state if everything is okay. However, sometimes you find that you have different other states. For example, in my cluster, I have pods in ImagePullBackOff, I have some in pending state, and I have 2 in CrashLoopBackOff. Let's go ahead and troubleshoot these things, guys. So for this specific one, this specific deployment in ImagePullBackOff, this is very straightforward. It just definitely means your pods are not able to come up because the deployment is not able to pull that specific image. It's as simple as, it's as straightforward as that, just based on the status of the pods. So if you describe this pod, for example, just to see like the process or how it got to this state, just use kubectl describe, then pod, and then the name of the pod. So let's copy at least one. Yep. Yeah, so basically it failed to pull the image. That is just what the error means. So and if you can see, I also deliberately just made it to have a funny image name, Nginx2. There's no such an image, so that is why it's complaining that it's not able to pull that image. So that's very straightforward. And if you just want to get the specific issue, just use describe pod, and you should be able to get the error. Yeah. And then back to the rest of the pods. This other one. So if I correct this image just to be Nginx, the normal Nginx should be able to see that, it should be able to launch that image. So let's do that. So instead of having 2 there, let me remove it, and then let me call it, what do I call it? Yeah, test. So let me save that, and let me delete the previous deployment that was failing. What's the name? Test2. Sorry, just test.yaml. So I have deleted. Let's get the ports one more time. So we don't have the ports in image pullBackOff state. So let's create that deployment again, having corrected, just to see that the issue was actually the name of the image that didn't exist. So if we create back, get ports, yeah, you can see that I have all my ports running. This one which I just created like 4 seconds ago. Well, guys, so that is it for that. The other state can be pending. So if you find that your ports in the cluster are in pending state, most of the time the pending state means that there are no available resources for the pods to run. So for example, maybe you don't have nodes in the cluster, you'll see that the pods are in pending state. Or maybe you have nodes, but you don't have available or rather enough, probably CPU or memory for the pods to run. So you'll still also see your pods in pending state. So for this one, I deliberately also gave very huge request for resources. You can see for limit and for request. And my pods, I mean, my nodes in the cluster are not able to support all these resources. So that is why my pods in pending state. And for you to get also the specific error for this, use describe just to see, just to be able to see what exactly is causing your pods to be in pending state. So if I describe one of those pods in pending state, I should be able to see an error relating to insufficient capacity. So you can see here, insufficient memory. So that's basically that for pending state. So I've said it can be in pending state because you don't have any nodes in the cluster. So there's no environment for pods to run in, or you have nodes in the cluster, but you don't have enough resources. So for example, for this one, I deliberately gave a lot of resources for the pods, so they are not able to come up because these resources are not available. Sometimes you may not have given these, but the cluster is already running so many pods to an extent that new pods will not be able to get resources to run in. So it's also can give you that pending state. So 1, you don't have nodes in the cluster. 2, you have nodes, but you've given your pods very high resources that your nodes cannot accommodate. Or you may not have given resources to the pods, but the cluster itself is running out of its compute resources. So maybe you're already running so many things in the cluster such that new pods will not be able to have any resources to run on. So that is reason for pending state. Now this last state, it is very one of the very problematic states when you find in your cluster, because sometimes you can't, it's not like a straightforward thing that you can say, oh, it's in CrashLoopBackOff, or I know what that is. Sometimes it's very it's a hard one. This can be a hard one because, as I said, it's not very straight. It's just CrashLoopBackOff. What CrashLoopBackOff means is that your node, I mean, your pod has been trying severally to come up, but for some reason, this is something that is just preventing it from coming up. So for you to get that specific reason, one of the things that you can do is also use describe. Describe is a very important utility that can help you when you're doing troubleshooting within the cluster. So let's describe and see, but it is not guaranteed that when you describe, you'll be able to get the exact issue for CrashLoopBackOff, but let's see. So describe that pod. Well, we've described, you can see the progress of your pod. So it successfully assigned the pod to this specific node. Pull the image from my Docker Hub. I'll show you guys that I had created a simple image and pushed it in my Docker Hub. I'll show you that. Successfully pulled it, started the container, but it went to that state. So we are not able to tell from this describe that what happened. Why is it in that state? Even though you've described and it's telling you it's in backup restarting failed container, but what's the issue? So another thing that you can do is to get the logs for this specific pod. So let's see if from the logs we'll be able to get the issue. So kubectl logs, then the name of the pod. Well, for this one, yes, this is the issue. So it is because in my Docker file, this line 47, instead of Nginx, there's just Gin. I don't know. Gins, there's no N. So that's the issue. And I deliberately did that just to show you, how to troubleshoot CrashLoopBackOff. So you can see here on my Docker file, I didn't add an N over here. So that's why it's giving me that error. So most of the times, CrashLoopBackOff mostly is something to do with the application, maybe some configuration issue within maybe the Docker file or your source code, or maybe you've passed an incorrect environment variable, or there's some spelling somewhere, or also sometimes also if it's not able to pull the image and I just tried so many times, it might end up in that state. But when you get you describe, or when you get the logs, you can actually find the issue. So most of the time, getting logs, if it's an issue on the application, getting logs will actually give you the error, because logs, when you say kubectl logs, those are actually the application logs. So if it is an issue in the application, you'll actually get your error when you check on the log. So keep that in mind, that kubectl logs will actually help you more when you have CrashLoopBackOff state of your pods. Another thing that you can do is to get events. Though events may not also give you the exact reason, but it can, depending on what is happening with your pod. So it may not be an issue within the application. So either when you describe, you might get the error. When you get logs, you might get the error. When you get events, you might also get the error. At the same time, you can actually check on your kubelet logs. I mean, those are just different ways of trying to get what the issue could be with that specific deployment. So let's get events and see. So the command for getting events is kubectl get events. We can do something like field selector, field hyphen selector, selector, and then something like field selector, maybe you can say involved objects. Well guys, I have a very huge keyboard, so I'm having difficulties typing. Involved objects dot name equals now the name of the pod. Okay, so this is the command that you can use to get specific events for that pod. kubectl get events, and you can do field selector, then involved object dot name is the name of the pod. Remember guys, I'm not passing the namespace because I'm just running these things in the default namespace. So if you're running in a different namespace, just make sure to always be passing the namespace name -n and then the name of the namespace. But for my case, they're just within the default namespace. So let's do that and see if we get anything in the events. Yeah, so these are the events for the pod. if you can see, this is not any different from what you get when you use kubectl describe. So it may not really give you the information, especially if the issue is in the application code or yeah, something to do with the application itself. So this one may not give you, to just tell you that it's backed off restarting the file container, but no specific error. So in our case, we're able to get the issue by doing kubectl logs. So for your case, just try these different troubleshooting steps. I'm not saying this specific one will work for you, but these are just the the available troubleshooting steps that you can use so that you can be able to find what is causing your pod to be in that state of crash loop back off. Another thing I mentioned is to check kubelet logs. Kubelet logs you have to check from within the nodes, the worker nodes in the cluster, because kubelet runs in the worker nodes. So I will not be able to get kubelet logs here, but let's see from within the node if you're able to get those kubelet logs. So I had actually just logged into one of the nodes. Remember, I'm using let me just start that process. I'm using AWS. This is my EKS cluster worker nodes. So let's see which node is that pod in. So let's go back here and say kubectl get pods dash forward so that you can get the specific node where one of the pods is running. So let's check on this specific pod here. It is running in this node with this IP address. So back to my console, you can see this IP addresses is not that node. So I think it's this other one. Let's see. What's the IP? What's the IP? Oh, sorry, the IP for the node here, not here. This is the IP for the pod. This is the IP for the node. So it's 156.195. So back here 156.195. Yeah, this is the node. Let's connect to it and see what we get in our kubelet logs. So connect. I'm using Session Manager. It's easier that way. Yeah, so let's get root and let's get kubelet logs. So kubelet logs, remember kubelet is running as a systemd what do you call it, process in the node. So you can get the you can get its status by running systemctl status kubelet. Yeah, my kubelet is running, and you can see a number of errors here that can tell you, something is happening within the cluster. There's some issues within the cluster. Actually, it's reporting then that it's in CrashLoopBackOff already. So you can see those ones. So you can get some of these errors when you just get the status of kubelet. You can also get all kubelet logs by using journalctl. So let me clear this and let's run journalctl -u, and then we pass kubelet there. These are kubelet logs. My favorite command so that I get all the logs, and the one part of the log is to use no pager. Let me just clear this so that I show you. So journalctl -u kubelet, and then I say no pager, like that. So you can see it's able to show you all the logs, and you can grab this specific pod so that you can narrow down to the logs related to that pod. So let's grab let's clear this first, and then let's grab our pod. Paste. Right, so you can see these are the specific logs, kubelet logs related to that specific pod, and you should be able to read and understand what could be causing the issue. But unfortunately, even from here, you may not, this is not also giving us a specific error, just showing us that it's not able to start the container, is in CrashLoopBackOff, but no specific description of the error that is making that container to be that state. So for our case here, we were able to get the error by checking on the pod logs. So guys, there are different issues of troubleshooting. It depends on what your environment is facing. The other causes that can cause your container to be in this state. For example, maybe you're using persistent volumes and it's not able to find the persistent volume, or it's not able to mount for any reason. So you'll also see those errors either from the logs or from describing that, especially when you describe, you'll be able to see those issues to do with the persistent volumes, not able to mount a volume. So basically, when you're trying to troubleshoot these specific statuses of your pods within the cluster, one of the best commands to use is to describe that pod and see what it is telling you. Some of these errors are very straightforward. For example, the image pull back off, that one easily tell you that it's not able to pull that image. And I think if they're in pending state, I just said they could be in pending because it's mostly because of resources. Either you've given your deployment or your pods very high resources that the pods cannot offer, or you don't have nodes in the cluster, or the cluster generally is running out of resources. So even if you didn't give the pods specific resources, the cluster by itself is already running so many things and it doesn't have like adequate resources to run new pods. And then CrashLoopBackOff, I've said this is not straightforward. You have to dig and dig and dig. Describe the pod and see if you can get the error. Get logs for the pods and see if you can get the error. Get events for that specific pod. See kubectl logs, and you can also try to also look at your replica sets, look at the deployment. Is there like any issue? Is there like any problem within your code or things like that? But mostly if it is an application issue, and then getting logs should actually take you to where the issue could be. So for this one of ours here, let's just correct and see if our pod will be able to launch. So guys, I just mentioned before that I created this specific Docker file. I wrote this specific Docker file and created the image locally. So let me show you. When you run command like docker images, this is the image which I created, this specific one. Guys, you know the commands for creating the image, or if you don't know, you have your Docker file, just run command docker. Let me just go to that command and show you how to create your image once you have Docker file. Yeah, so you use docker build -t is to give like the name of the tag, and then I called it Nginx and a tag up1. So dot means that your Docker file is here. This is representing where your Docker file is in. For me, it's here. If it was elsewhere else, make sure that you're passing the actual path where your Docker file is. But it's all, I feel like it's always nice to run your Docker build where the Docker file is. So just use the dot instead of, stressing yourself with passing the whole path. So this one created the image, which is this one here. This one actually, with the tag up1, as you can see here. And then because I wanted it to be pulled from my Nginx, from my Docker Hub repository, I tagged that image with my repository name. So using Docker tag, let me go to that. I hope I can find that. Yeah, this one. So I tagged this image so that it's my repository, my Docker Hub repository, so that I can push it there. So Docker tag this image, and then my repository name, and then the tag as well there. So that one was tagged there, and then I pushed it to my Docker Hub repository, which is here. So this is my repository, and then this is the image. I used it in my image. This is the YAML file for that deployment. You can see this is the image. It refers to the image in my Docker Hub repository, and then I said you can pull if it's not present. So if it's not there locally, which is it's already there anyway, so it will still try and pull it, but it will see that it's there. And that's why having created the deployment, you can see that they are having this issue because of that specific problem over here. So let's correct it and recreate the image one more time. So let's put the N there. Let's save it, and let's create the image one more time. So Docker build, let's call it what? 2. Up2. Yep. That is created. So let's tag it so that we can push to my Docker Hub repository. So Docker tag. Guys, I'm lazy to type, but we could get there. That's it. So let's put a 2 here, a 2 here, and a 2 here. So it's tagged. Let's push it. So docker push. Yeah, so it's pushing to my repository now. Well, guys, if you really understand Docker and building of images and things like that, you should see that it's saying layers already exist. I don't know if I can do a video on this, how Docker builds images, how it uses like the cached layers already to save, space and all that. Do you guys understand those? If you do, drop a comment and explain to us why is it that it's using already existing layers and yet we've changed the name. Yeah, that is very, very important. I remember when I was doing my last interview, I was asked about how Docker images are built, how it uses like the existing layers, what is the importance of that, and all things like that. So that is really important if you want to become a Kubernetes administrator or Docker. Is there like Docker administrator? If there is, yeah, that is still important. So guys, let's check on our repository. Yeah, so we have our new image over here. So let's use it in our deployment now. So this should be 2. And let's save that, So let's delete this other deployment that is having issues. All right, so kubectl delete -f. What's the name? test3. Well, it's deleted. Let's get the pods just to make sure that the pods are not there anymore with the status of CrashLoopBackOff. Yeah, they're not there. The ones that are here pending. We'll also go to correct this and see if it will be able to deploy. So once we delete, let's create it one more time with the correct image that the issue has been corrected. Well, let's get the pods. Okay, so you can see they're now running. So the issue basically was what we got from getting the logs for that pod. Well, for this pending one, it's because of the resources, definitely. You remember, guys, when we described, it was showing insufficient memory. So let's correct that. Let's actually remove this. Or, okay, let's give this maybe like 0.5, right? 0.5. And this one we give like 100. Same case to this, 100 and 0.5. And let's save. So let's remove this deployment with issue. Well, guys, you don't always have to remove the deployment. You can do like an apply, or if it's a production environment, you can do like a rollout restart for your deployment. So you don't always have to delete everything fast and then you experience a downtime if it was running. If it was something that was running and you just want to correct something, don't delete, just do a rollout restart. But for this case, it's not even running, so it's not an issue for me when I delete. But I'm just saying, in your production environment, don't just delete your deployment if it was running just because you've changed something. Just do a rollout restart on the deployment, and it will be able to just restart one pod at a time as the others serve your traffic. Okay, guys, so let's create with test2. Yeah, test2. Okay, did I delete? No, I didn't delete. Sorry, guys. So it's deleted. Let's just confirm that we don't have any ports in pending state. Yeah, there are no ports in pending state. Let's create it again. That's created. Get port. Yeah, so all our ports are now running. So basically, guys, I was just starting to show us how to do or to go about troubleshooting the different states of your containerized application within your Kubernetes environment. So I hope you've enjoyed this video, and let's have a conversation, guys. Guys, I always tell you to comment on these videos. You don't. I know you guys who are watching, some of you are very experienced Kubernetes administrators. Some of you are new to Kubernetes. Let's have a conversation. What do you usually do? How do you usually troubleshoot your things? Mine, guys, this is one of the things that I do, but this is not exhaustive. As a person who've worked with Kubernetes for a long time, I know you have other ways of doing the troubleshooting. Drop them on the comment section. If you're working with Kubernetes, if you're working with EKS, if you're working with OpenShift or any other containerized, orchestration tool for that matter. just leave a comment on the comment section and let us know how do you go about troubleshooting your stuff within your Kubernetes environment. So guys, I hope you've enjoyed this video. Please consider subscribing and share these videos as far and as wide as possible. Until next time, guys, bye.